Scripture reading this evening will come from 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 24 through 26. 1 Corinthians 9, 24 through 26. Do you not know that those who run in a race all run, but one receives the prize? Run in such a way that you may obtain it. And everyone who competes for the prize is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a perishable crown, but we for an imperishable crown. Therefore I run thus, not with uncertainty. Thus I fight, not as one who beats the air.
Good evening, everyone. I have known for, several weeks that my turn was coming up for tonight's devotional. And a couple weeks ago, I started looking, for in my backlog of material that I'm thankful to have from many years ago, what I might speak on. And I came across a particular thought that I thought of, that's been a long time since we used that one, but just kind of kept looking. And then a recent brief conversation with a coworker at work, something that he said made me think of that devotional again, and because it tied in so well, and I was able to use those thoughts, add a little to it, to hopefully get through our two-part devotional tonight. I mentioned I had a recent brief conversation with a coworker. I was walking through our fabrication shop, and one of the men there was grinding on some steel, and he was just grinding away very loud, and he had been doing it for a while, because when you look down at the floor, there was a pile of metal shavings and dust, in a circle, in a kind of a semicircle all around him, his work area. And I went through, did what I was doing. When I was coming back through, he stopped me, and he said, Shane, do you know what work looks like? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, look down. He said, that right there, that's work, I can tell you. And I agreed with him. And before I walked, then I went on, did something else, and as I was walking by him the second time, he stopped me again as he was grinding away, and he said, Shane, you want to give it a try? And I said, no, I don't think so. I'll pass. You just keep on doing what you're doing. And he said, I've always heard it's better to be a participant, even for just a few minutes, than to be a spectator for life. And that applied there. It didn't work. I kept going. I didn't try it. But, you could apply that in sports, games, competitive areas for sure. You can apply that thought, but you also can apply that spiritually speaking. Now, spiritually, we know we can't be a participant for just a little while or a few minutes and be pleasing to God. But because being a faithful Christian is a lifelong commitment. But one thing we should consider is that people's Christian lives in length does vary. Someone shared with me not too long ago, that they became a Christian very late in their life, and they regretted, taking so long doing so. Now, I was baptized at 18. I consider myself a definite late bloomer. And why did it take me to 18 to make that decision? And I think there's several factors that went into that. Why? I wasn't ready prior to that. When I was baptized, I knew what I was doing. I understood. And I may have shared with some of you before, I can still remember that feeling, after being baptized, still in my white jumper, if you will, that I put on to be baptized. I was served communion by a gentleman that was my kindergarten teacher. and he served me communion for the first time, and I looked up at him, and he had tears coming down his cheeks. And I remember that feeling of, you hear about a clean slate. That was how I felt at that moment. So I understood what I was doing, but as far as a lifelong commitment, really understanding what all goes into this, I did not have that full understanding. And that took a number of years later, to really understand. But I said, someone shared with me, they regretted taking so long. Just because someone didn't serve God for many years of their life doesn't take away from the decision they made late in life to start serving. It's not about the past, it's about the present. We can't change our past, and we can't control our future, but we can do something about the now, and that goes even tonight. Some may serve God for 70, 80 years, while others may only serve a few years before their life ends. Possibly a year or a month. It's possible just a number of days that they serve God before their life ends. Thankfully, our Lord does not hold us accountable for how long we've been faithful, just that we do become a Christian, do make that commitment to serve Him and live a faithful life as long as our life continues. Whether you serve the Lord faithfully for a lifetime or possibly even hours, from what the Bible teaches, our reward is still the same. This makes me think of a couple parables. One, I want to share a portion of it with you. The other, we'll look at it in its entirety. I can't help to think about the prodigal son. Let's look at Luke in the 15th chapter. Luke, the 15th chapter. I think most of us are familiar with that parable. The son that decided, he wanted his inheritance now. He wanted to leave and do his own thing, live his own life the way he wanted to. And he chose and made that decision. And he made very poor decisions. And he wasted that inheritance and lived a very not Christian-like life while doing so. And got to the point where he was so low that he was, eating with the pigs. And it finally hit him. He came to himself and thought, my father's hired servants have it better than I. I should go back and be not a son again, but just be a servant to my father, and I would be doing so much better. So starting in verse 20, after coming to himself and realizing this, and he arose and came to his father, but when he was still a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, Bring out the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet, and bring the fatted calf here and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this is my son was dead, and he is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to be merry. Now the older son was in the field, and he came and drew near to the house, and he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said to him, Your brother has come, and because he has received him safe and sound, your father has killed the fatted calf. But he was angry and would not go in. Therefore his father came out and pleaded with him. So he answered and said to his father, Lo, these many years I have been serving you. I have never transgressed from your commandment at any time. And yet you never gave me a young goat that I might make merry with my friends. But as soon as this son of yours came, who has devoured our livelihood with harlots, you killed the fatted calf for him. Human nature-wise, you can't help to kind of understand the older son's thought process. He, not saying it was right, but you kind of understand where he's coming from. Folks may have, a sibling that has not led the life they should, may have, unfortunately, got into addictions and maybe, drained the family, their parents, financially, especially emotionally, and never recovered or pulled out of it, while another sibling, is doing the right thing, living the right life, and still the one that has the troubled life and keeps coming back for help. You can see where that other sibling has some definite jealousy, or why do you keep doing this for them? You know how it's going to wind up. They give up on that sibling. And here, the older brother has given up on his younger brother for what he's done. But verse 31, and he said to him, "Son, you are always with me, and all that I have is yours. It was right that we should make merry and be glad, for your brother was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found." The father definitely could see the bigger picture and was merry and was happy that his son had come back, even though he, forever how long, lived the life that he should not and was dead, spiritually speaking. The second parable tied in with these thoughts is the parable of the workers in the vineyard. In Matthew 20, we'll look at verses 1 through 16. Matthew 20, starting with the verse 1, the parable of the workers in the vineyard. "For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. Now, when he had agreed with the laborers for a denarius a day, he sent them into his vineyard. And he went out about the third hour, and he saw others standing idle in the marketplace. And he said to them, 'You also go into the vineyard, and whatever is right I will give you.' So they went. And he went out about the 6th hour and the 9th hour, and he did likewise. And about the 11th hour he went out, and he found others standing idle, and he said to them, 'Why have you been standing idle here all day?' And they said to him, 'Because no one has hired us.' And he said to them, 'You also go into the vineyard, and whatever is right you will receive.' So when evening had come, the owners of the vineyard said to his steward, 'Call the laborers and give them their wages, beginning with the last to the first.' And when those came who were hired about the 11th hour, they each received a denarius. But when the first came, they supposed that they would receive more, and they likewise received each a denarius. And when they received it, they complained against the landowner, saying, 'These last men have only worked 1 hour, and you made them equal to us who have borne the burden in the heat of the day.' But he answered one of them and said, 'Friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for a denarius? Take what is yours and go your way. I wish to give to this last man the same as you. Is it not lawful for me to do what I wish with my own things? Or is your eye evil because I am good? So the last will be first, and the first last. For many are called, but few are chosen.' Whether we labor a long time or a short time, we are promised the same reward. When I said earlier that my coworker's comment, especially about being a spectator, reminded me of a devotional thought years ago. That devotional thought is entitled, 'If Life is a Game.' after a couple songs, we'll take a few moments and we'll consider this. Levi read for us a few moments ago 1 Corinthians 9, verses 24 through 26. And we're going to look at a few more scriptures in the next few minutes. 1 Corinthians 9, starting at verse 24, says, "Do you not know that those who run in a race all run, but one receives the prize? Run in such a way that you may obtain it. And everyone who competes for the prize is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a perishable crown, but we for an imperishable crown. Therefore I run thus, not with uncertainty, thus I fight, not as one who beats the air." If life is a game, which the thought is from these verses, first thing we look at is that everyone is in the game. You can be a spectator, but spectators are not sitting out of the game called life, not sitting out for a little while. They're in the game. They're actually on the sideline, but unfortunately for the wrong team, Satan's team. Now we can switch teams possibly multiple times through our life, but we can only be on one team at a time. Luke 16:13, "No servant can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." If life is a game, we must keep training. We get driver training, job training, physical training. But how about spiritual training? How much are we getting? Is worshiping God training? Fellowship meals, gospel meetings. We're definitely getting fed spiritually. But what about our training outside this building? How sincere are we about saving the lost if we're not serious about our spiritual training? If life is a game, we must have a goal and a game plan and a rule book. Our goal is an incorruptible crown of life. We don't run aimlessly without knowledge or direction. We have a game plan to follow. We don't compete in a game where anything goes and where people play and win by their own rules. Now, the world thinks there are many winners by many different sets of rules. But God will declare the true winners according to his word. 2 Timothy 2, verse 5. "And also, if anyone competes in athletics, he is not crowned unless he competes according to the rules." If life is a game, well, life is a contact sport. The game of life is a great contest filled with struggle and also means enduring hardships and trials and temptations along the way. Hebrews 10:32, "But recall the former days in which, after you were eliminated, you endured a great struggle with sufferings." In James 1, verse 2, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials." There's always someone or something ready to trip you up. Galatians 5:7, "You ran well. Who hindered you from obeying the truth?" If life is a game, we must have stamina and perseverance, because there are no substitutions. no replays, no mulligans, no best 2 out of 3, no double elimination, no timeouts. The clock is always running. We must have patience and strength and dedication. Hebrews 12:1. Therefore we also, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us. Let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. We must endure to the end, finish the race, and claim our prize. 2 Timothy 4:7, I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, and I have kept the faith. If life is a game, we know there are winners, but there are also losers. Life is a game worth winning. The rewards of winning are great. The punishment in losing, severe. And we must all remember that all results are final. We are all running the Christian race. Fortunately, we don't have to finish first. We may fall behind and get tired, get discouraged, may need someone to help pick us up, nurse us, and get us back going. We just have to remember, we just need to finish. So tonight, if you need help getting and remaining on the right team, need help running this race to not give up, if you need help finishing the race, please come forward as we stand and sing.